Hey guys, it's Gareth, also known as Pew Pew Pew, coach of the Lorient Luvdiscs, and I'm here bringing you the GPC draft analysis for Season 3. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks back, I announced a joining of a draft-based league, and there it is, the draft is done. We did it over the course of last weekend, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on my draft, why I picked the things that I did, and how things initially I wanted them to go. So, before we start, I'd like to mention the fact that my initial plan was to pick 3 mons in Mamoswine, Latias and Absol. Fortunately, Latias was taken round 1 by David, and I had to completely rethink the whole thing, and I ended up going with a mon that I think is very solid in this format, and that is Hydreigon. Now, Hydreigon is possibly one of the better dragons in this format, for the simple reason that it can be both offensive and defensive, well, supportive really. It's got good special attack, as you can see, decent bulk, decent speed, and possibly one of the best move pools that any dragon has in this game. It can be run both physically and specially. It has very good coverage. It's got U-turn, which gives it momentum. It's also got Tailwind, and overall it's a very good mon. The nickname I shall give it for this season will be Darkroot, referencing of course the Hydra in Dark Souls. And yeah, I think this is one of the mons that I'm going to bring almost week in, week out, because it can be used in so many different ways, and it's a very core part of this team. Now, if you remember, I mentioned the Mega that I wanted before was Absol. Being that I already have a Dark type, I didn't see the need in bringing another, so I decided to pick up Mega Scissor, also known as Janus in this case, referencing the Roman god of portals and transitions, I think it's called. He's basically a robot looking dude, and so that's why I chose to name it like this. It's overall, in my opinion, one of the best Megas, for the simple fact that it's an incredible sweeper, but it also can be run defensive. You can see that base 140 defense is no joke. And it's got incredible supporting moves. It's got Roost, Defog. It's one of my hazard removers if I want to run it as such, but I don't want it to be forced into that role. And yeah, it's only got one weakness, but it's a quad weakness in fire, and it covers very well the weaknesses that Hydreigon has in Fairy, Dragon, Ice. It doesn't take fighting quite so well, but that's alright. And Hydreigon covers it back with the fire resistance. So these two first mons I was very happy with. They're both mons that are very threatening, and I'm very, very glad I got to pick this up. I was surprised that it wasn't taken before, so I nabbed it as quickly as I could. And then I was like, I want some bulky wards type, I want something to remove hazards, and I want something with reliable recovery. Starmie is the perfect choice. And once again that got sniped. So I went for the second best thing. It's got everything I just mentioned except for the recovery, and that's Tentacruel, which I'll be naming the Kraken for obvious reasons. Tentacruel is kind of forced into one of two roles, either especially defensive mon with rapid spin, toxic spikes, or whatever you want, or you can even run it as a speedy hazard setter, but it's generally used as a specially defensive mon, and that's one thing I didn't want to have in my draft necessarily, is something that's forced into one role. But in this case, I needed the hazard removal, I needed a wards type. Tentacruel was the perfect fit, and I think that it does what it does very well. It checks a lot of big threats like Manaphy, which is on Bob's team, which is a huge, huge threat in this format. So I'm very glad I've got a counter to that. Next up, we have Chandelure. Now, a ghost type is essential. Sorry if you keep seeing a thing pop up at the bottom. A ghost type is essential simply for 2 reasons. Number 1, fighting checks. Fighting is a very popular coverage type, and if you can check fighting types, you're pretty much clear. Also, a spin blocker, which is very essential. Plus, I needed a fire type to more or less start building a grass water fire core, being that I already had a water type. Now, if you look at Chandelure's stats, the first thing you notice, of course, is its huge special attack. That is very important. If you remember, Hydreigon was my only special attacker so far. Well, Tentacruel can be used as such, but it's not got enough power. I wanted a special nuke, and this is it. It's got very good defenses as well, so if in a certain situation I can always run it defensive, especially defensive with Will-O-Wisp. And it can also be used as a setup sweeper with sub Carmine, or just straight Carmine, or just sub. Overall, I really like this mon. I'm very glad I picked it up, and it was surprisingly cheap as well. In this league, you only have a set amount of points, and that's why you see more variety in the tiers and such. Which is why instead of picking like 6 OU mons at first, I got a few UUs, a couple of BLs, you'll see. Next up, we have Terrakion. Now, Terrakion is a mon that I wanted from the start. It's very hard to prep for. It's got sword stance, I believe, and it's definitely got rock polish. Its rock fighting type coverage is incredible. It's extremely useful and extremely powerful as well. I mean, Stone Edge and Close Combat, both very high base power moves, being that they're both stab. It can hurt a lot of things, and this thing, when you look at the teams that are in my division, it can clean up. It can clean up a lot of the teams, and for that reason I thought it was a perfect fit on this team. It's a potential rocker. I don't want it to be forced into that again, but it can be used as such. It's got decent bulk, so I can always use it as a defensive mon. I don't see why you would with Terrakion, but you can. And yeah, overall it's a fantastic mon. It was 13 points I believe, so it wasn't too bad, and I'm very glad I picked it up. Now for my next pick, this is the one that I think I could possibly change. This is the next pick coming up, is the one that I feel is the more open to be transferred. I picked up Staraptor. Now this thing is simply a nuke. It will switch in Brave Bird, Banded Reckless Brave Bird, pretty much 2 hits, anything that doesn't resist it. That's how powerful it is. Now, the one drawback to that is that it dies quickly. That's not something you want in a league format. You want survivability, and you want to wear down your opponent efficiently. This will wear down an opponent, but wear you down at the same time. This could potentially be replaced with something like a Braviary. I think that's still open, I'm not sure, I didn't check the draft beforehand, I should have. But it can be swapped out for other mons that have slightly more bulk, a bit more utility, but less power. So this one is open to change, but I'm very glad I picked it up because it can tear through teams. Next up we have Nidoking, another potential rocker. I don't want it to be forced into that role again. This thing, it's not only one of my favourite mons design-wise, move pool-wise, it's always been one of my favourite mons. My first yellow playthrough, I literally only use Nidoking, so it's got a special place in my heart, but it's one of the best mons in the format. It's got priority, it's got an incredible special move pool, it's got one of the best abilities in the game in Sheer Force, and it's just so threatening. No team can prepare for it because it's got so many different moves it can run, move sets, it can be physical, special. It's just so good. This is possibly my favourite one of the draft. It's a centerpiece to the team, and I'm very glad that I got it when I did. Nidoqueen was picked up just before I was convinced this was going to go as well, but thankfully it didn't. And plus, the overall type coverage on my team is working very well at the moment. I believe the only thing I'm weak to twice is Water, Ground and Psychic, and I've got checks for all of those types so far. And so my team so far has got a lot of power to it, but next to no bulk, and that was something I wanted to fix. And so I needed an electric type. I needed something that could pivot, that gets Volt Switch or U-turn. And Electros was calling to me because I wanted 2 things. I wanted bulk, I wanted momentum switching as I said, and I also wanted something that could do 2 things instead of just 1. At first I was going to go for Manectric for the electric community, but decided against it for the simple fact that Electros can be physical or special, it's got U-turn or Volt Switch, and it can even be defensive. It's got access to moves like T-Wave, Roar. It's very, I think, an underrated mon in this format, and it's also got incredible coverage. It's got Giga Drain, T-Bolt, Knockoff, I think it's got Flamethrower, it's got Wild Charge, it's got Coil, so it can potentially be a setup sweeper as well. That'll be a set that I could be interested in bringing 1 week, so watch out for that. And overall, I think it's a fantastic mon, but still I am lacking a dedicated wall, a dedicated defensive mon, and that is the main criticism I have with my team, is it could be slightly bulkier, and that's why I'm thinking about switching out Star Raptor. But my next mon, I'm glad I picked it up when I did, because somebody was after it straight after, I think. No, that's the mon after, sorry. This one is specifically for my match against Pierre. Pierre has Landorus Incarnate, possibly the scariest thing in the entire game. And what's the best counter to it? Mesprit. It's got Levitate to avoid the Earth Power, it resists the Psychic, it will take nothing for Sludge Wave if it's specially defensive, I can run Colberberry to take the knockoff. And it's got Ice Beam. What more could you want? It is not only for that, but that is the main reason I brought it. I also brought it for Shardy, sorry. I almost called him Shady, he's going to kill me for that. And it is, I mean, look at those stats. It can be used in so many different ways. It is, again, another versatile mon. It's a stealth rocker. I just love it. It's all I wanted from this team was power, versatility, and things that could help the other mons clean through teams. This fits into two of those categories in helping the team and versatility. So it was very important that I picked this up. This is the mon that was almost taken from me. Pierre also wanted this mon, and I am so glad that I picked this up when I did. I needed some bulk. File Plume is a very, very good physical and specially defensive wall. It completes my Firewater Grass Core. Granted, it is another poison type, which isn't the best when you think about it, but thankfully not many people have drafted Psychic type, which my team, aside from Scizor, Hydreigon, and Mesprit, is quite weak to. Yeah, that's all it's there for, is for bulk. It's got Leech Seed, it's got Sleep Powder. It's there to support the team and help me chew hits from different threats. And again, my final pick is possibly the walliest of walls. It's Leblob, it's Licky Licky. Wish, Heal Bell, just standard cleric set. It could be run both physically and specially defensive. It can be run physically or specially attacking on the more supportive side, of course. And it's got access to Explosion, which is possibly some of the most fun you can have in this format. It's one of those things that if your opponent doesn't expect it, it can easily take them by surprise, and it's one of the things that I'm tempted to bring on one of the weeks. I'm not going to say which one, because obviously my opponent would know beforehand, and it's definitely a mon that I'm happy I picked up, and it's very cheap as well, only 2 points for that. Base 110, 95 defenses, that's pretty good. The only main problem I have with it is that it's weak to fighting, and fighting is a very common coverage type, as I said before when I was talking about Chandelure. So that's it, that's my team. I'm very happy with what I got. I think it covers a lot of bases. I've got both physically and specially offensive mons. I've got mons that can be used in many ways and different shapes and forms, which is the main thing in this format. But I am lacking in defense. That's the one thing that I'm not happy about with this team, is the slight lack of defense and switching capability. But hopefully I can work around that in my team building and in the way that I play, and I will not let you guys down. I will work my hardest to be in the playoff spot at the very least, and be fighting there as a title contender. That is my goal. I very much doubt I'll make it on my first season. My aim is just to go. My aim for the season is to go 4-3. There's 7 weeks. I want to go 4-3. If I go 4-3, I'll be more than happy, regardless of where I end up. That's my goal. If I do higher, then I'll be extremely happy, and I'll be very proud of what I've done. And it's all down to prepping enough and having a good battle, and that's all I want, is to be efficient in the way that I do, in the way that I participate, and also to have some fun. I mean, that's the main reason everybody plays mods. So, on that note, thank you all for watching. It's been lovely speaking to you once again, and I can't wait to get my first battle done, and I'm facing Bob, the former champion, which is not the best way to start off my first ever league experience, but I'm up for the challenge. If I beat him, that will it will send ripples through the GPC chat as me solidifying me as a threat, and that is going to be very interesting. So once again, thank you all for watching. I've been Gareth, and you have been amazing.